How's everybody doing? So this is a little late because I'm sure everybody's reported about James Marsden and not Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd, I probably he auditioned for the role, but James Marsden, who you remember as Cyclops from the X-Men movies, is getting the. This is just me playing with all my Sonic the Hedgehog stuff right now, but I'm just going to talk about uh, what this movie really means. Now, I've included links below in my description for the Sonic the Hedgehog fan film, Tim Miller's and what is it? Jeff Fowler's Gopher Broke back in 2004. The Goon that Tim Miller did by himself, which is more for adults. I don't know. I don't think I think the Goon got revived, so it did not play out as intended. Marza's animation for demo reels and James Marsden's some sort of recent video of James Marsden talking to Alexa and Siri and stuff like that. It's kind of a funny thing, but James Marsden talking to robots is sort of a precursor to talking to a non-living thing because Sonic is a cartoon, right? So James Marsden, I remember from the X-Men movies. I remember from I think some romantic comedy on television I watched in the middle of the night. Uh, he seems like an okay actor. The thing is, if you know the Sonic the Hedgehog fan film and you know how that one played out, I thought it was okay. I liked Jaleel White. My favorite voice actors are Jaleel White and Ryan Drummond from both of the Sonic the Hedgehog video games and the cartoons. Uh, so it never really, I mean, either one, you're not getting a bad deal. So I don't really care. Uh, I don't know about Roger Craig Smith. Um, the Sonic Boom voice never really appealed to me that much, to be honest with you. So, didn't matter. But Ryan Drummond, who did the Sonic Heroes, um, I'm not sure who did the voice for Lost World. I'm not sure if that was Roger Craig Smith or somebody else. But anyway, that's sort of. So yeah, the fan film I thought was okay, but you have a human actor playing Eggman, and it either takes you into the movie or not. There were some things that worked in that fan film back then, and some things that did not. But it was an okay. I would say if I had to rate the fan film from like a few years ago, I would give it about a C plus, B minus. I don't think it was anything that great. Um, I think most of the actors took their roles seriously, but you have to convince a general audience that here you have Sonic the cartoon, the CGI cartoon, and James Marsden talking to Sonic. He's not talking to a computer now. Now he's talking to a living, breathing character thing. Okay, so it's going to be hard to convince me and convince a lot of people. Now this is going to be made by Paramount Pictures to be released in, I guess, November or fall, winter 2019. Um, I think immediately of Star Trek, and all the special effects and characterizations in that. And I also could think of another movie, which was Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow, which was mostly CGI. The guy who did it was a one-hit director, did a great job on this movie, who most of the actors, including Angelina Jolie and Gwyneth Paltrow, Jude Law, they did their movie in living rooms, in bathrooms, in kitchens, and nothing but green screen, and they were acting against the world around them. That was how that Paramount movie worked. So I think of those, when I think of Paramount Pictures doing Sonic the Hedgehog, I think of these two movies. Now with James Marsden, of course, he's not going to get as much respect as, say, Ryan Reynolds or George Clooney or Brad Pitt or Matt Damon, So James Marsden, of course, on the tiers of respectable actors, he is sort of on the lower rung. Even if James Marsden is a great actor and he does have a fan base, in the eyes of Hollywood, he's not up there with the other actors. So this is not a movie we know right away is not going to get the highest amount of respect that it probably should, depending if it's good or not. I'm not sure who's writing this one, who's the screenwriter, um, but what does it have to be? What should this Sonic Hedgehog movie be? It's going to be part CGI cartoons, and it's going to be part, live action. So let's pretend this is James Marsden, okay? So you're looking at James Marsden, acting along with a cartoon, this to this to this to this. So how would that work? Would it be like Roger Rabbit? Would it be like the Sonic X series? If you remember, Sonic the Hedgehog was playing against a redhead named Chris. Was it Chris? I think it was Chris's dad, and the dad was a police officer and stunt car racer. Okay, so it's like he was always competing against Sonic, and Sonic was competing against him, but he got along with the son. So yeah, so Chris was the son, and his dad was always trying to one up Sonic. It could be something like that. What they're trying to go for, I think, from the reports I read, it was supposed to be a buddy cop movie. I don't know what that's going to really mean. So as I'm playing with my other Sonic toys here, what are my recollections of of comic book, I'm sorry, video game movies? So when I was 15 years old, this was 1993, we had Super Mario Brothers, the movie. If anybody ever watched that in theaters, me, of course, raising my hand here, that movie had good actors. I did like Daisy, the actress who played Daisy. I did like a lot of the setup, but it was just too realistic. It was like, what the fuck were those Goombas all about? Okay, could you imagine if Knuckles looked like Ken Pender's art? And that's exactly what you would have seen back in 1993 if you saw a live-action Sonic movie. Everybody would have been 6 feet tall with suits on. It would have just looked fake. Nobody would have cared about it. Nobody would have said, fuck this, I'm just going to go home. So that's what, Sonic was about. The Super Mario Brothers movie, you had Bob Hoskins, you had John Leguizamo in these weird jumpsuits running around from Goombas. And they had these little bombs and little, tiny mushrooms that helped them get somewhere. And they had a realistic car. Everything looked like Mad Max. If Mad Max and Blade Runner shitted, like literally took a shit, and that was the Mushroom Kingdom. And then you had this weird nightclub, and Mario and Luigi were in these weird yellow-red suits. It was just bizarre. And the whole Bowser confrontation at the end with Dennis Hopper was just stupid. We don't need to go into that. But like with Resident Evil and Mila Jovovich who, by the way, if they made a good Star Wars movie with Asajj Ventress, Mila would be the primary candidate for that. But Mila Jovovich did some very good action movies with Resident Evil. I mean, she took good care of the franchise. They made like how many? 5 or 6 movies? 7? And then you had the Resident Evil CGI movies, which are a hit or a miss depending on how you felt about them. So they weren't bad, okay? And I think Marza Animation might have worked on one of the Resident Evil movies. So what do the Sonic movies, what does this Sonic movie have to be in order for there to be a sequel and then a third movie? Well, first of all, let's take a look here. It has to be like these comic books, okay? It has to be like the Archie comics. You have to understand that, yes, we can go over how Ken Pender screwed up everything. We can go over how some things, because of Ken Pender's, some of the stories didn't work out and they weren't that great. But there was a lot of world building that Ian Flynn helped do, that you have other writers. I'm trying to remember the other writers right now. Let me see what the other writers we have. I don't even know. Do we have another writer that's not Ken Pender's here? No, this is Ken Pender's crappy art. Let me see. Was it Ken Taylor? Was it Ken Taylor? I'm trying to figure it out right now. Let me see. Let's see. I'm just trying to find the writers. I'm sorry. We had Ian Flynn. Everybody remembers Ian Flynn. Clayton Emery. There's all kinds of other writers. You have Clayton Emery as one. This is all blurry because I'm not enlarging the screen here. But we're not talking about comic books. As a matter of fact, we're just talking about comic books as the basis for the plot to Sonic the Hedgehog. So yes, you have to use Archie Comics as a foundation. Not strictly that Sonic has to fall in love. There doesn't need to be a Sonic Amy romance, though I'm going to see some thumbs down for that. Um, there just needs to be a very heartwarming true story. Now, if the Bumblebee movie is as genuine as I think it should be for Transformers, if that spin-off movie is going to be very good, then Sonic the Hedgehog has to reach that level. It has to be as good as Bumblebee. Okay, if it takes beats from E.T. and Close Encounters, something that is serious, something, if you look at Pixar, if you look at DreamWorks, why did those movies work? Because they were strictly cartoons, but they took the material seriously. And there were some things I liked about the fan film from a few years ago with Jaleel White, and some things I didn't like. Um, but it has to be that serious, okay? And then at times, yes, it can be funny, okay? If you look at Gopher Broke, that Jeff Fowler did with Tim Miller as the executive producer, it was strictly funny. You could say Jeff Fowler could have done a Banjo Kazooie movie. Let me see. I'll get into Tim Miller more in a minute. Um, Spider-Man Into the Verse, which if you saw the trailer today, that looked pretty good. Spider-Man Into the Verse was very well done. Um, but we're talking about CGI characters interacting with real people, the real world, live action. So how is that going to work? Um, I don't know. I really don't. Um, like I say, the things I liked, TMNT from 2006 or 2007, and the Spider-Man Into the Verse that looks pretty good. That stuff I'm into. And maybe the Clone Wars, okay? I mean, thinking of that, you think of the Clone Wars, the movie, even if the movie wasn't successful and the animated series was pretty good, I mean, we think of this. We think of all the inspirational, beats that Dave Filoni took and every episode for like, what, 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, he could have done 10 years worth of the Clone Wars series. I mean, we're heading into the 10th anniversary of the Clone Wars. And it shows you some things that worked and some things that did not work. So for Sonic to work as a live action hybrid, you have to look at James Marsden's best work. Now, I included a link below to him talking to Siri and Alexa. But really, you have to look at stuff he did in X-Men as well. So if you combine the link that I gave you for James Marsden along with X-Men, there might be something to him to a point to him being there. But he's sort of like the male handsome lead. Would James Marsden overthrow Sonic's lead, or would Sonic overthrow James Marsden? And I think the thing is, it has to treat both characters, or both whatever James Marsden is going to play, and Sonic the Hedgehog. It has to treat both people equally. Sonic cannot. Well, put it this way. Sonic should overshadow James Marsden, but not to the degree where James Marsden is a goon. It can't be like that. He can't be over. It should not be over the top. James Marsden should not play a caricature of himself just because it's mostly animation. That's what should not happen. James Marsden should have dignity in the role he's doing, but has to kind of take a backseat to Sonic because that's the name of the movie. Okay. So it's just, they have to balance those two people out very carefully. Between Sonic and James, it has to be somewhere of just, yes, we see Sonic and we see James, just a good chemistry and not one overshadowing the other too much. And with Jeff Fowler, like I said, Jeff Fowler, you can recall him in Gopher Broke. And Gopher Broke was a silly, you could say Scrat from the Ice Age had more charm than the Gopher. But Gopher Broke was what Jeff Fowler did, and Tim Miller backed it up. Tim Miller, of course, you remember him from Deadpool. I didn't see Deadpool, but I did see Deadpool 2, which I liked probably a lot. Probably, I would dare say more than some of the clips I saw for Deadpool. I did see some movie clips of Deadpool, but I liked Deadpool 2 more. And while Tim Miller is not directing this, he was supposed to direct this, and he took a backseat as executive producer. Tim Miller is going to be like the executive producer, but he may be a consultant and kind of advising Jeff on what to do. Because if they worked together in the past, therefore learned behavior, they should be able to work together in the future. Uh, so I have a link below for the Goon. I kind of liked it, but the Goon was more of an experiment. It didn't follow through. And while I don't think swearing is going to happen in Sonic the Hedgehog movie, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with what I'm saying. There should be some darker themes. It should not be played too much for laughs. Yes, Sonic can do some funny things. Will there be a Sonic hits a brick wall and kind of goes cuckoo, cuckoo? Yes, once in a while that should happen. But it should not be like too many stupid, silly moments. I mean, basically, here's the thing. Like, if you look at 21 Jump Street, the TV show, it was played for serious, right? There were some funny moments. But when you saw the movies, oh, fucking Christ, what the fuck was that? You don't want it to be you don't want it to be just the name and the character being the norm, and then everything else is just bullshit. So yeah, Tim Miller, yes, she probably should consult as well as executive produce, but I don't know how this is going to play out. I'm kind of worried that Jeff Fowler might play this up too much for laughs. Even with Gopher Broke, I thought it was okay, but I didn't think it was going to, there was nothing there that I haven't seen before. And to do something like that in 2018 would probably not do that well or have that much charm. So yeah, I have links below so you can watch the movie before the movie. It's basically the fan film, Tim Miller's The Goon, Gopher Broke by Tim and Jeff Fowler as director, Marza's animation. Now Marza's, they have done Sonic, they worked on the FMVs for the Sonic games and some of the animation for the Sonic games, including Sonic Racing Transformed and Sonic Unleashed. So you definitely have an idea what Sonic is going to be like in Marza Studios. They may have to do the animation may definitely have to be close to what you're seeing in the fan film. So if you combine Marza's animation sequences with the fan film with the more realistic shading, then you definitely have the movie right there as far as the look of it. This is a Sonic CD. A friend of mine gave this to me way back, and I have never seen this anymore. And it's very difficult to find this. This is coming with me if I ever have to, if I ever have any financial problems, this is coming with me. I mean, this is a nice collector's item. You have the original disc inside. I have never seen a successor to this, and it's very hard to port this, it seems, according to Sega. Got Ego the Dolphin and all this stuff here. But yeah, so in order for Sonic to work, you need the look and the look of the fan film. And you need the backing of the foundation of Archie Comics storytelling, the world building, the complex characters. Even if it's not Sonic the Hedgehog Archie Comics in exact continuity, because Sega has some rules about that. It needs to be on that same serious level. Now, most people would say, well, it's going to be dog shit because Super Mario Brothers was dog shit, and some of the Resident Evil movies are dog shit, and some of the Assassin's Creed, Hitman, Ratchet and Clank, if I'm forgetting any others. Most of my memories of cartoons based on the of the IPs goes back to Sonic the Hedgehog AM and the cartoons on KCOP 13 way back then. And then you also had Donkey Kong Country, the animated series, Zelda, the animated series, Super Mario Brothers Super Show, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World. You had those things. So you have to look at, I still remember the one that, if you can look for it somewhere on YouTube. I won't give you the link for that because of legal issues if I don't want it to get taken down. But there's a Sonic the Hedgehog episode where Sonic finds his Uncle Chuck. And Uncle Chuck is possessed, of course, he's been roboticized by Eggman. And Uncle Chuck tries to come back to Sonic because Sonic loves his uncle. This is his uncle who makes him chili dogs. But he's been retooled to be an evil, mindless robot slave to Robotnik. So Princess Sally and Bunny the Robot, they try to convince Sonic you have to let him go because there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to help him. And so that's a really intense episode of Sonic. I really suggest you go and find it. And I think I remember there was a dramatic moment at the end of the original Pokemon movie. How badly can you do Pokemon? You could probably do somebody's going to do a live action Pokemon movie, by the way. Somebody's going to try it, okay? It is going to happen because Pokemon is too big of a franchise for someone not to do a live action version of it. So it's just right now, it's going to be very messy. So all I can say is that in order for Sonic to work, you need the drama of the Sat AM cartoon. You need a good performance from James Marsden. You need Tim Miller to kind of give some of that method acting to Sonic without him directing it and without there being swearing and, the obvious stuff that would make it a rated R movie. And the lighthearted stuff, yeah, Jeff Fowler can do it. I mean, you can trust some of the work he did. Yes, Jeff Fowler can do the lighthearted stuff. And the fan film itself has the more realistic graphics. But here's a good question, since I got one person watching. Should Eggman be a cartoon or should Eggman be a real person? That's a good question. I don't know. Wow, I just thought about that right now. Should Eggman be a cartoon or should somebody play Eggman? Should we get John Goodman as Eggman? Or let me think. God, who should we get? Who's a big fat guy who's popular? You got John Goodman. You got don't even take this seriously. I'm just like rambling. You got wrestlers. You've got who else? Who else? You could just get anybody. I can't even think of anyone right now. Alec Baldwin. You just put a big old mustache on Alec Baldwin. I don't even know. It could be anybody. It could be, but I don't know. I think it would be wise to keep him as a cartoon. You could have a whole backstory. It could be similar to Sonic X. In Sonic X, Sonic, Eggman, Amy, Knuckles, Tails, they were in their own universe and they came to the real world. And if you remember that plot, if you just stuck Chris's dad as James Marsden, that might work. That might end up being the backstory for this movie is everybody comes to the real world, Station Square, the Tikal the Echidna's world is somehow in the real world. I don't know how that would work. Yeah, if you combine Sonic X with Archie and the look of the fan film, yeah, that might work. But I think Eggman should strictly be a cartoon with some realistic proportions. Because honestly, if you try to get like somebody who looks like Chris Farley in a mustache, that will not work. People would just be like, okay, no, not Chris Farley, because he's gone. He's been gone for 20 years. But some fat guy in a suit, that would not work. Because I think it's just, Eggman is over the top. By nature, if you watch that fan film, you know why the fan film doesn't completely work. Because the actor who plays I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he's going to be over the top all the time. Where is that going to really flow? I mean, yeah, there was that one scene where Eggman talks to Chris about accepting the truth about yourself before Chris has to say goodbye to Sonic and Tails forever. There was that nice scene that really gave Mike Pollock's performance to a good level. But Eggman is just for laughs. He's the fat guy in Laurel and Hardy, if you know that old comedy team from the 1920s or the Three Stooges. He's just, what is he doing? He's creating stuff and then he's a funny character. So I think that's all I can really say as far as that goes. If anybody has any comments you want to drop, please drop them if you can. And we will not see another Sonic. We will see Sonic the Hedgehog 6, issue number 6, I think on June 27th. Let me show you number 5 in case you all missed it. Here it is. So number 6 will come out, I think, on the 27th. But I may talk some more Sonic news. I do believe they're going to try to do a new version of Sonic Racing Transformed for this Nintendo Switch. I might buy a Nintendo Switch later on in the month just to get Wolfenstein 2 if you're into that kind of stuff. And then after that, I don't know. These Sonic the Hedgehog issues are slow once a month. They need to come up with the Sonic universe. You know, if you could have 2 Sonic issues that ran in the same continuity, 2 per month, I think you have a lot happier Sonic fans instead of once per month. I mean, like I say, to Ian Flynn and Tracy Yeardley, you got to maintain those fans who are veteran fans as well as the new people. So let's cross our fingers. We got until November 2019 to see if they're going to come up with absolute junk or absolute masterpiece. I think with James Marsden, you're not going to get a high-profile movie, but we're hoping we get something on the level of Bumblebee. If you see the trailer for Bumblebee and Spider-Man Into the Verse, and you kind of hold on to that mentality, and you look at the links below, I think we will know what we want in this Sonic movie. So anyway, this is Maestro Drake signing out. Be good, be cruel, but be yourself. Take care.